The island of Sodor is surrounded by beautiful blue sea. It has fields of green and sandy yellow beaches. There are rivers, streams, and lots of trees where the birds sing. There are windmills and a coal mine, and docks where visitors to the island arrive. The island also has lots and lots of railway lines. Who's that puffing down the track? It's Thomas! Hello, Thomas!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the island of Sodor.
One day, James had to wait at the station till Edward and his train came in. This made him cross. Late again! Edward laughed and James fumed away. After James had finished his work, he went back to the yard and puffed onto the turntable. He was still feeling very bad-tempered. "Edward is impossible," he grumbled to the others. "He clanks about like a lot of old iron, and he is so slow, he makes us wait." Thomas and Percy were indignant. "Old iron? Slow? Why, Edward could beat you in a race any day." "Really," said James, "I should like to see him do it." Next morning, James's driver was suddenly taken ill. He could hardly stand, so the fireman uncoupled James ready for shunting. James was impatient. Suddenly, the signalman shouted. There was James puffing away down the line. "All traffic halted," called the signalman. Then he told the fireman what had happened. Two boys were on James's footplate fiddling with the controls. Phew! They tumbled off and ran when James started. The signalman answered the telephone. "Yes? He's here. Right. I'll tell him. The inspector's coming at once. He wants a shunter's pole and a coil of wire rope." "What for?" wondered the fireman. "Search me, but you'd better get them quickly." The fireman was ready when Edward arrived. The inspector saw the pole and the rope. "Good man, jump in." We'll catch him, puffed Edward. James was laughing. What a lark, he chuckled to himself. Suddenly, he was going faster and faster. He realized that he had no driver. "What shall I do? I can't stop! Help! Help!" We're coming, called Edward. Edward was panting up behind with every ounce of steam he had. At last, he caught up with James. "Steady, Edward," called his driver. The inspector stood on Edward's front, holding a noose of rope in the crook of the shunter's pole. He was trying to slip it over James's buffer. The engines swayed and lurched. At last, "Got him!" he shouted. He pulled the noose tight. Gently braking, Edward's driver checked the engine speed, and James's fireman scrambled across and took control. "So, the old iron caught you after all," chuckled Edward. "I'm sorry," whispered James. "Thank you for saving me." "You were splendid, Edward." "That's all right," replied Edward. The engines arrived at the station side by side. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. "A fine piece of work," he said. "James, you can rest and then take your train. I'm proud of you, Edward. You shall go to the works and have your worn parts mended." "Oh, thank you, sir," said Edward. "It'll be lovely not to clank." Toby and Henrietta were enjoying their new job on the island of Sodor, but they do look old-fashioned and did need new paint. James was very rude whenever he saw them. "Yuck! What dirty objects," he would say. At last, Toby lost patience. "James," he asked, "why are you red?" "I am a splendid engine," answered James, "ready for anything. You never see my paint dirty." "Oh," said Toby innocently, "that's why you once needed bootlaces, to be ready, I suppose." James went redder than ever and snorted off. It was such an insult to be reminded of the time a bootlace had been used to mend a hole in his coaches. At the end of the line, James left his coaches and got ready for his next train. It was a slow freight, stopping at every station to pick up and set down cars. James hated slow freight trains. Dirty cars from dirty siding. Yeah! Starting with only a few, he picked up more and more cars at each station till he had a long train. At first, the freight cars behaved well, but James bumped them so crossly that they were determined to get back at him. Presently, they approached the top of Gordon's Hill. Heavy freight trains halt here to set their brakes. James had had an accident with cars before and should have remembered this. "Wait, James, wait," said the driver, but James wouldn't wait. He was too busy thinking what he would say to Toby when they next met. The freight car's chance had come. "Hurrah! Hurrah!" they laughed, and banging their buffers, they pushed him down the hill. "On! On!" yelled the cars. "I've got to stop! I've got to stop!" groaned James. Disaster lay ahead. Something sticky splashed all over James. He had run into 2 tar wagons and was black from smokebox to cab. He was more dirty than hurt. But the tar wagons and some cars were all to pieces. Toby and Percy were sent to help and came as quickly as they could. "Look here, Percy," exclaimed Toby. "Whatever is that dirty object? That's James, didn't you know?" "It's James's shape," said Toby. "But James is a splendid red engine, and you never see his paint dirty." James pretended he hadn't heard. Toby and Percy cleared away the unhurt cars and helped James home. Sir Topham Hatt met them. "Well done, Percy and Toby." He turned to James. "Fancy letting your cars run away. I am surprised. You're not fit to be seen. You must be cleaned at once. Toby shall have a new coat of paint." "Please, sir, can Henrietta have one too?" said Toby. "Certainly, Toby." "Oh, thank you, sir. She will be pleased." All James could do was watch Toby as he ran off happily with the news. "Mind your backs," he shouted. Then there was trouble. The beehive fell and broke open. The station cleared like magic. James heard a familiar buzzing. The bees were too cold to be cross, so they buzzed around the fireman, hoping he'd mend their hive. But he didn't understand, nor did his driver, so the bees turned to James. His boiler was nice and warm. Buzz off, hissed James. One bee burnt his foot. Ooh, ooh. The bee thought James had burnt him on purpose. So it stung James right back on the nose. Eee! Whistled James. He had had enough. So had his fireman and driver. They didn't notice till too late that they had left all their coaches behind. They tried everything to get rid of the bees. First, they spun on the turntable, but to no avail. They tried washing them off, but the bees clung harder to James's warm boiler. Then they tried smoking them off by going through a long tunnel, but still the bees wouldn't go away. "It's no good, James," said his driver. "We'll just have to go back to the orchard and fetch another hive." James's reply was drowned by the sound of buzzing. The vicar was waiting anxiously for James. When he arrived, the bees swarmed straight into their new home. "Come on, James," said his driver. "What you need now is a good hose down." Later that evening, James was resting in the shed when the vicar came to see him.
"Thank you for saving my bees," he said. "It's a pity it's not Christmas. Then we could call you James the Red-Nosed Engine."
Everyone laughed, even James. But instead, they decided to call James the Bee's Knees, which means they thought he was more useful than ever.
Red. James applied his brakes and screeched to a halt. But Edward couldn't stop in time. "Sorry," puffed Edward. "I didn't have time to stop." "Don't worry," moaned James. "It was my fault for
His wheels started to slip and slide. "Oh my!" cried James. And he applied his brakes as hard as he could. Whoa! Edward tried to brake as well, but it was too late. But James didn't want to be told what to do, especially by a freight car. "I'll decide what we do," he huffed to himself. So James applied his brakes. The train smashed into the snow, and it stuck. James couldn't make his delivery. He felt very bad.
James is silly. James is slow. James has got us stuck in the snow.
James wished he had checked with the yard manager about the weather. He wished he hadn't tried to find his way through Shen Valley. And he wished he had asked Edward to be his front engine. Now I know Hector was trying to help me. The freight cars giggled. "Quiet! Please, Hector, how can I deliver my train on time?" Hector was happy to help. "I'm a very heavy freight car. We must race down the hill at full speed. Then we will biff the train right through the snow." What a good idea. So Hector was uncoupled from the train. James wished and wished. At last, he had hauled Hector back to the top of the hill. "Okay, James, go!" Hector and James raced faster and faster down the hill. There was a mighty biff, and Hector pushed the train right through the snow. "We did it, Hector! Well done!" Hector was pleased. Then James saw Diesel.
Oh no, it's Diesel. He's sure to laugh. I have to hide quickly.
James saw some freight cars. They were piled high with coal. James puffed into the siding and hid behind the freight cars.
This is a good hiding place.
Then Diesel oiled into the siding.
Fizzling fenders.
Diesel had to shunt the coal cars. Diesel shunted away the cars that James was hiding behind. So James puffed to the next cars. Then Diesel shunted those away as well. Quickly, James rolled behind the last two freight cars. Then Diesel shunted them away.
Oh no.
Diesel was surprised.
What are you doing, James? You're a big pig steamy.
James felt terrible. Being laughed at by Diesel was worst of all. So James chuffed quickly away. James knew he was getting late. He had to pick up the children before tea time.
I will take a shortcut through this tunnel. That way, I'm sure to chuff to Maithwaite on time.
James puffed out of the tunnel. Then he heard a whistle.
It's Gordon! Oh no! I don't want Gordon to laugh at my silly pink paint. I have to hide.
So James reversed back into the tunnel and waited. Gordon pulled up to the tunnel. He could see steam.
Who's hiding in there? Express coming through. Come on out.
James didn't want to come out. He was sure Gordon would laugh at him. Then Thomas and Percy puffed up.
What's happening? Who's in there?
I don't know, but the Express can't wait.
James knew the engines were waiting for him.